कद्र तेरी तारीख ने जानी ही नहीं, तुझमें शोले भी हैं बस अश्क फशानी ही नहीं, तू हकीकत भी है दिलचस्प कहानी ही नहीं, तेरी हस्ती भी है एक चीज जवानी ही नहीं. And I am totally my dad's daughter. I'm Abba's daughter. That's the name of my autobiography that has yet to be written. I'm on the right side of history, that I'm here to make a difference. I don't know. There's so many times when I thought I won't even make it. I won't even be able to complete my education. So if I can do it, anybody can. So it's a journey paved with tears and fears, you know. I've met far more patriarchal women in my life than men, you know. And it's not always because of the men, because it's a mindset. And women are as much a repository of that way of thinking. Men propose and women dispose. That's how it is.
How did you have that courage?
So you have to choose your battles. You know, you could never fight when I was young to go to parties, to dress up a certain way. I knew that it has to be a smart, solid strategy. It can't be about dressing up and wearing jeans. It has to be about wanting to study more. I cannot tell you what all I do. I mean, I've led like not just a complete life, but many lives, you know. People ask me, why would you want to cover lifestyle? Would you want to cover Bollywood? And I said, no, I want to cover defense. I remember in Z, there was a senior person and he said, why would you want to cover BJP? You're a Muslim. And I said, how does it matter? Let me tell you, in every party, there are very, very, very decent people who really want to make a difference, who are not lured by money, who really want to transform things. There are so many people like me who want to do some good. That there should be level playing field, you know. I think the rules of the game must change. And luckily for me, BJP has recognized that. So I want to tell people there that please, when you say things about Muslims, don't say that, because there are all kinds of Muslims, you know. Just don't judge people by their religion.
Thank you so much, Shazia ma'am, for your time on India Podcast. It's a real privilege and honor to have you with us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Anku, for inviting me.
Talking about any woman, her success, and especially when we talk of Shazia, we have known her as the star anchor of Star News.
आप देख रहे हैं आईसीसी वर्ल्ड 2020 ट्रॉफी. इस वक्त हमारे स्टूडियो में सबसे पहले स्टार न्यूज आपको दिखा रहा है ये शानदार ट्रॉफी, और हम लोग इसके रेनिंग चैंपियंस भी हैं. जैसा कि हम सब जानते हैं, सबसे बड़ा सवाल कि ये कप हमारा तो है, लेकिन क्या हमारा ही रहेगा.
We've known her as the vociferous lady out there challenging the world, and not just the world for political reasons, because you have represented the anti-corruption bill, the anti-corruption campaign, but you are now the national spokesperson for BJP.
नमस्कार मीडिया के मेरे जितने भी साथी हैं, आदाब. एक बहुत बड़ी खबर है, लेकिन खबरें बहुत ज्यादा हैं आजकल. लेकिन ये खबर आप लोग को बताना जरूरी है, क्योंकि आम आदमी पार्टी की तरफ से एक प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस हुआ है.
Getting to that helm looks very easy, looks very glamorous, like you are looking right now. But what is the true story is what we want to know. It has not been that easy, has it been?
Like they say, no, never judge a book by the cover. So don't ever do that. And it's been a very arduous and a crazy journey. And I don't know why I'm here, how I'm here. And I don't know. There's so many times when I thought I won't even make it. I won't even be able to complete my education. So if I can do it, anybody can. I've had so many odds. It's just not funny in terms of everything. I mean, people do get support from somewhere, right? But I'm one of those people that who has just had to kind of just fight. It's been my own struggle and all the way. And it's a journey paved with tears and fears, you know.
But your smile covers it all. We could never think you also have a story behind, which shows that she's come from pain. Looks like she's...
No, I smile a lot and I cry a lot. You know, I'm a complete crybaby. I get very emotional very easily. In fact, it's a matter of a big joke with all my friends and family. very little family that I'm still in touch with. It's a matter of it's a big joke.
What was the most difficult part for you, Shazia, being a Muslim girl or being a woman out there in the field, whether it's journalism or politics, where I think we still do not find ourselves easy or accepted, even if you've made it to the top?
I think everything, being a Muslim, being a girl, being in a city like Kanpur, growing up in an area like Chamanganj, which is like a ghetto. I mean, we have I'm a daughter of a Maulana, a very well-read man and a wonderful man, really, who was, I think, more emancipated than my brothers who are from Doon School. And that was my father's intention, that my boys and girls should go to the best schools because English will be
There was
the
equality
medium.
in your father that both should study.
Yeah, but so that's what I'm saying. This is nothing to do with where you study, where you come from. It's a mindset. And that's what I'm telling you. My father was far more liberal than my brothers. I have 4 older brothers, and just one of them is Irshad. I mean, the brother I'm in touch with. But he was the only liberal person, my dad. In that sense, he had that simplicity and that understanding that it's important for daughters to get not just education, but the best quality in terms of everything, emotional support and educational support and just love. So I think I've met far more patriarchal women in my life than men, and I feel patriarchy, or we all are victims of it, and it's not always because of the men, because it's a mindset. And women are as much a repository of that way of thinking. So we don't have to blame the men. We blame the society and the culture, sometimes the religion, sometimes the social and local customs. But it's just the house you grow up in, So no one else has done that. Women are supposed to be a certain way. Men propose and women dispose. That's how it is. So how can you not dream of just cooking great food and serving your brothers, and then to your husband, and then just wanting to get married and dream of owning lots of jewelry? How can you not? You ought to be a freak if you want to. So it's like that. And I grew up in a system where there was Mardana and Zanana, in terms of whenever there was a wedding in the family or, in the neighborhood, that's how it was. I mean, I remember sitting in a train going to Delhi, which I used to do very often. And I remember the newspaper guy would be offering newspapers, and he would not offer it to girls, and he would offer them the magazines like Greh Shobha and Femina. And I said, but I want the newspaper, and he just would look at me. So, it was so insane that there was a
You mean the girls can't be so informed about the world? Is that what they try to do?
Yes, and also in discussions and political discussions, they were always happening in my house. And my father was a Lohiite and who was part of the whole emergency thing. And Raj Narayan was his friend who actually contested against Indira Gandhi. So as a kid, and all the famous poets, Kaifi Azmi and all would collect in the house. And I was a little girl, just listening in, and I wanted to be part of everything.
What made you go for this tough journey of being a journalist? Was it all planned or just happened because you just wanted to know more?
Yeah, I think I was just, first of all, my father, like I told you, we have the oldest Urdu newspaper of the country, is languishing. Only one of my brothers looks after it, Irshad Bhai, the one I mentioned. So it was just growing up there in that house, where the newspaper is printed. So you grew up with that culture, and maybe my sisters were not so interested, but I was. I'm born a girl. Why should rules be different? Why should I be expected to make tea and dinner and lunch and not my brothers? Why should there be a presumption about how girls should be? So I just had a big, I wanted to contribute in so many different ways. And I just felt there was no one way to be. So it was just, I mean, there were so many do's and don'ts for girls. लड़के वो पतंग उड़ा रहे हैं, आप पतंग उड़ाना चाह रहे हैं, तो भाई आप पतंग नहीं उड़ाएंगे, क्यों? क्योंकि भाई आप लड़की हैं. फिर there were these conversations about तुम्हारा रंग तो बाकी तो सब इतने गोरे हैं, तुम्हारा रंग और कम हो जाएगा.
my
Small
God.
things. और इतना पढ़ना चाहती हो, कौन शादी करेगा? इतना जिद करती हो, इतनी बहस करती हो, क्या होगा? So there was a lot of anger about all these things. There was also a lot of anger with what I saw around me, with the way my aunts were, with the way women were around me.
How would you
With
deal
the
with
way,
it?
and very difficult to deal with it. It just didn't seem fair to my mind. I mean, the same Allah would not have given me a mind which thinks, which questions, and that I have a sense of curiosity and an inquiry that makes me want to go further and ask these questions. So if if Allah or God or destiny, if we all are born from somewhere, we have become from our source, if we have it all, besides having the the reproductive organs and all other parts of the anatomy, which women have and men have, and and now of course there's gender fluidity and all of that. But just because of my anatomy, why would my dreams and aspirations be any different? I also have kidneys. I also have a mind. I have cerebrum, and brainstem.
We have heard, one, you coming from a religion which people always understand that they're very closed in the interpretation of Quran, understanding, and then you
It
have
is,
open.
it is in many ways. My mamus would tell me, I remember one mamu telling me that, and it's not even true, that even if my wife is offering her prayers, and if I come in, she's supposed to break her prayer and give me food and give me water, and there is nothing like that. So there is also a lot of misinterpretation in of what Quran is. And also, you must realize that we're talking about learnings of a religion which are 1400 years old, right? So, and it was very progressive for those times. But we haven't taken the sense of that progressiveness, where Prophet, may peace be upon him, came from, where girls were actually buried alive, where women were bought as slaves, where the right to property was given for the first time to women.
When you hear news of Afghanistan, it might be going back, taking you back to the repression that women, and maybe you've just seen through in glimpses in your own journey. Does it make you feel angry that why that situation still
I
exists
feel
in 20?
so angry. It's so upsetting. It is so disturbing to see that. And I just see that crazy, supposedly rugged manner in which people lead their lives, and their customs that even predate Islam. And it's not just Sharia, it's Pashtun Wali, and even customs which do not make sense, which treat women like not just subserviently, but almost like animals with no minds of their own, which totally disregard the fact that she is a human being. She is a person. So the personhood of a woman is denied to her. All she remains, Anku, is she. But that she is a person. And that everything in life is decided by all the he's about all the she's. But the fact is, they all are beings created coming from the same source. And that is lost on a society. And before the idea of freedom is wiped out from the collective consciousness of these women, before they learn to believe it, that it's okay, they're at least allowing us to study, they're at least allowing us to, uncover our faces while we're
It's a pride that they think they've allowed you this. It's an obligation. It's a big
Can you imagine?
Honor.
It reminds me of something, Anku, I must tell you. I was barely 14 or 15, and I had a friend, I will not take her name, and she was a close, like a friend, like a distantly related to me, and she didn't want to get married, and they were forcing her. She was barely 17, at that point of time, and they were forcing her to get married to some much older man from Pakistan. This was in Kanpur, and I actually rang up the cops when I was a kid. There was this black phone, and I called up the cops. I was 15 or 14.
Oh my God.
And I just read on TV, वो आता था दूरदर्शन में, it used to be there on television being displayed that, the minimum age should be 18. So I rang up and I said, this is wrong, what's happening? And I would ask, I said, Islam says Kabul hai, and why would you not...
What was the consequence? You called up and your parents did not shout at you?
No. My father was very amused. My mother was very angry.
Yes.
A particular aunt whose daughter was getting married was laughing and saying, oh, is ye to beti, this daughter of mine is taking me to the police. And I, as a kid, nobody took me seriously. And even the cops laughed when I rang up a particular Kotwali, which was the number you dial.
Yes.
They said, "Kya aap kitne bade ho?" मैंने कहा, आइए पकड़िए इनको, ये गलत काम कर रहे हैं. And I know that girl who was getting married, she was scared. And she told me, she said, I don't want to go. And she was just herded off, to spend the night with that man because it was her wedding night.
You could be sensitized to it at such early as 14 and 15.
Yes. And, and she did not, when they were asking her, Kabul hai. It's senior people in your house. It's older mamus and chachas. Yes. How can you say no? It's somebody known to you who's supposed to be a lawyer.
Yes,
so what Quran prescribes and what actually happens is very different. They say, no, woman has a right. But when all these senior people in the house are there and you're like this always, you're taught and conditioned never to ask questions and to always say no. So she just whimpered. And she just whimpered. Kabul hai, Manzoor hai. So everybody started celebrating. That was it. Her life was sealed. And I did not want my life to be like that. I did not want her life to be like that. I did not want anybody's life to be like that. It just hurt me. And it was so sad because I remember this aunt of mine telling her, ab tum chupchap upar jao. So she said, mujhe nahi jana hai. And he said, just go. And we don't want to hear a word. In the sense, you know what I'm trying to say, Anku? And for a little girl like me, it was terrifying. I was terrified. This is the idea of marriage and love and intimacy.
That fear stays with you. You feel fear intimidated for a longer time.
Yes, those images don't leave you, and there are many of those images in my mind. And there was another girl next to my house whose father was a very dear friend of my father. She came to my house along with her elder sister and her mom. And she told me that she'd never been outside her own house. That even whatever education she gets is from a Maulvi who comes to her house and who teaches her in the presence of her brothers and her mother. The only time she stepped out of a dark house was when her sister got married. And I asked her, what did it feel like? And she says, yours is the second house I'm coming to. And I was very upset and emotional. But I wanted to hug her, because it was just so unfair.
But what gave you the courage?
I felt so happy. No, Uncle, I felt so happy that my dad sent me to school,
How did you know if I can fight it, I won't be prisoned again? I won't be locked in the room or slapped. How did you have that courage?
So you have to choose your battles. You could never fight when I was young to go to parties, to dress up a certain way. I knew that it has to be a smart, solid strategy. It can't be about dressing up and wearing jeans. It has to be about wanting to study more. So I made sure I did well in my studies. There was no excuse. I was the head girl, as you know. I did extremely well in my 12th exams, my boards. I think my average percentage was 92. I maxed English and Eco and Pol Science. There was no excuse that, we'll just send you off either to a legal university and then you get married. So I just did not want to give them an excuse, So
every time you had to plan something,
I kept pushing myself. It was so much pressure. Things people just take for granted.
You could not live like a simple girl who easily gets to sway through her life. You had to keep planning.
Yeah, and sometimes it's a very easy life also, because you never know. You could meet a very caring, wonderful man, yes. And there are many of those who look after you, and you don't have to work, and it's all right. That's also a choice.
But that's very rare.
I'm not. Yeah, well, that is very rare. And I just said, no, I can't do this. I should liberate myself and many others. And all my life, and I'm so much older now, and I want to liberate that little Shazia who felt so helpless. And there are many Shazias out there. So you always have to come to the rescue of the little girl trapped
What
somewhere.
was that first moment of liberation, Shazia, was getting into journalism when you were on Star News, when you were leading from the front? Did you see that liberation in your parents' eyes, or a guilt or anything that you
I
felt like
think it was
now?
just like when I became the head girl of my school, I never expected it, you know, and that just meant something. Apparently, I was in St. Mary's Convent, Kanpur, and
You were a
apparently I was
topper
the
in
first.
Zamia.
Yeah, I was a topper in Jamia too, and I was also the youngest student because the minimum age has to be 21. I was 19 and a half when I got into
Imagine.
Jamia in my mass comm program because
Wow.
I was ahead of my class always. I was in such a hurry. That's what my
For
mom
you,
tells me.
time
That's
was
how I was
always
born.
running out.
I was like, for me, time was always running out. There was so much to do. You don't know how much I packed in, Anku. I cannot tell you what all I do. I mean, I've led like a not just a complete life, but many lives. You know, it's like so many lives packed in my one life.
हम बात कर रहे हैं स्लम डॉग मिलियनेयर की और हमारे साथ हैं इस वक्त जाने माने ब्रिटिश डायरेक्टर डैनी बॉयल पूरी कास्ट के साथ जिन्हें से हमने बताया करोड़ों का सम्मान मिल चुका है आगे क्या होना है देखने वाली बात है द इंटरनेशनल ऑडियंसेस हैव लैप्ड अप योर फिल्म व्हाट डू यू एक्सपेक्ट फ्रॉम इंडिया नाउ
Well, it would be lovely if the film worked here. We've been very privileged. We've opened the film in America. We've opened the film in Britain, where Dev and I come from. And so the final part of the Great Triangle is for the film to open in India. It'd be wonderful if it played here in theatres. That would be the icing on the cake. Better than awards, anything would be that, really.
You had no time to sit and think and do anything. You just like, I have to do it
No,
now.
I'm always thinking, you see, whatever I'm doing, I'm always thinking. I have a hyperactive brain. So even when I'm sleeping, I'm thinking, which doesn't allow me to ever relax. So I'm here, but I'm thinking of what I have to do next.
How difficult was that journey to find your place in journalism?
Very tough, you know, because
Just being a pretty girl and an outgoing, intelligent woman is accepted.
I don't know what being pretty, but you know, people make comments on your face all the time. They don't want to see that you're a topper from Jamia, that you've always been a
they don't take your knowledge and intelligence for seriously.
Yeah, that becomes such an issue. And I'm afraid to say some girls also take advantage of that, you know, and some men hold that against you. The very fact that you're not just, I mean, as smart as them, but perhaps much smarter. And you can call them out and you can tell them a few things about the technical stuff too. It's not taken upon well, you know, taken well. It's not taken well.
It went against some male ego in your office because it's easier for a talented woman.
And can I tell you something? All the stereotypes and the biases and the prejudices that I dealt with in Kanpur, in Lucknow, in Nainital and Shimla, the places where I grew up in and spent time in, there were biases which were far more organized in the swanky offices of New Delhi and Bombay, in media houses.
Because I passed out of,
yeah, I say that because that's just how it is. That's just the mindset. So it's just like people ask me, why would you want to cover lifestyle? Would you want to cover Bollywood? And I said, no, I want to cover defense. I remember in Z, there was a senior person and he said, why would you want to cover BJP? You're a Muslim. And I said, how does it matter? I'm a journalist. I'm a very good one at that. I've done well. My track record is there for you to see.
You have to prove yourself to be a good beat reporter.
So, you know, it's always you being judged of, you know, in accordance with what you look like, your religion, your economic status. And even in Jamia, you know, mass from Jamia, they say it's a very intellectual place. You know, there were such biased people, and that's why I hate these. You know, they call themselves the liberals and the leftists, and they speak great English, and they use this Marxist terms, and they show.
Oh, we have that in LSR also.
Anku, they are the most prejudiced, biased, meanest people on earth. Let me tell you that. You know, they would say things like, they would also judge me. Oh, tum to St. Beach se ho, Shimla se. You know, for you it's so easy to. I said, no, it's never been easy. So because you could speak English, I mean, I can speak very good Urdu.
Yes.
And it also takes a lot to go to a school and to work on your English and your Hindi and your Urdu. It's not easy. But they know there's an inverse complex they had, and they held it against you. And also in all the television channels, they held it against you. that ये तो अंग्रेजी वाली हैं, to prove that. And I was a Hindi news
Yes.
anchor. I was a debut anchor of Hindi news, and I spoke good Hindustani. And I learned it because, if you're determined, and if you are if you're fast on the uptake, so to speak, you learn things.
What was your moment of glory, Shazia, in as journalist also, when you felt like they had to believe that this girl is out there? Stop judging her now.
There were a few moments like that. So there was once, there was a time, I think, as a Star News anchor, I did a show. It was called Ashram Ka Rahasya or something like that, where I kept on anchoring for 5 or 6 hours. Wow. And everybody said, so the competition was with Aaj Tak those days. Wow. And every time we beat Aaj Tak, I was the anchor. So one was on Dawood Ibrahim's, for the first time, my colleague, Umesh Kumawat, found footage. Because everybody had seen Dawood Ibrahim's footage in a Sharjah match. But he actually found a whole cassette of a wedding. So I anchored that. I was chosen to anchor that along with Umesh, who was reporting that. And we became number 1. Then this Ashram Ka Rahasya happened. And then again, we became number 1. And I just went on and on. And so it was like amazing.
So people were like, we can't stop. Now she's gone out there.
Yeah, and so it was like that, so there were those moments of glory. And there's a very important time, 9/11 happened.
Yes.
And
and you were the one, I think, who
for 24 hours, and then 48 hours, and almost 72 hours. Until then, nobody knew what had happened. There was complete chaos. Nobody could fathom as to why Hemant Karkareji, Mr. Salaskar, and Mr. Kamte, how come all the 3 top cops died and were killed, and the entire story. So I just happened to go to Bombay Hospital, where everybody was, and everybody was interviewing the NSG commandos, who'd helped the Israeli family, if you remember. And a ward boy told me, Didi, aap TV pe aate ho, aap anchor ho. Maine kaha, yes. But why don't you go there? I said, okay, I'll go and find out. And they said, there is somebody there who I think was part of that entire ambush. And I said, okay, let me find out. And that person is Arun Chadha, who's very celebrated every year. Amitabh Bachchan and gives him an award, because he was the one who was beneath the pile of all the bodies murdered and slain by Kasab and his colleague.
आपने देखा जब वहाँ गोलीबारी हुई?
देख लिया था।
आपके लिए काफ़ी मुश्किल होगा उस पल को याद करना, क्योंकि विजय सालस्कर के साथ आपने इतने दिनों तक काम किया है, और आपके दोस्त भी, साथी भी जो लोग थे, वो भी नहीं रहे। तो किस तरह से घेराव उनका हुआ कि सबकी एक के बाद जाती रही?
And they thought he was dead too. And from beneath the corpses, he used the phone and told them that this is Kasab and this is the car he's using. And then they were able to nab the Skoda, and that's how everything happened. So the first ever interview about how 9/11 happened, I got that. But what was most important as an anchor? I'll tell you a very important story. 2 things. I'll tell them briefly. So there was a very important judgment. There was a not Miss India, but she was a beauty pageant of a state. And somebody had made a pornographic film on her. And all channels, though they were morphing it, there were very few full-time channels. I'm talking about 10 years back, exactly. 12 years back. So they were showing us that footage of that girl, and they're saying, look at this girl, she's in so much trouble. There is a film on her, and it's being distributed. And that girl was being shamed, and she was in the prison, strangely. And there was a wonderful correspondent, senior to me, and his name is Sant. And Sant was in Jammu, and I discussed the story with him, and I was the anchor to be discussing this, who was to go on air. And I said, Sant, why are we discussing the girl? Who are the men? Because the act itself says that the distribution of such content and use of pornographic content and any kind of viewing of this footage is also equally an offense, legal
Yes.
offense.
So, and we see something like that happening around right now.
And nobody thought of it. So see, the experience and the pain that you encounter as a young girl, the sense of injustice stays with you. And you know what? We changed the story. And you know what you said is a happy moment for me. You know, I said, son, why on earth are we talking about the girl? Who are the men who photographed her? Who are the men who shot that film?
So much.
Who are the men who are distributing the film? What are the channels who are doing it? How and who are the cops who are now harassing the girl and not finding out about the men who are behind the scene? And how come they are not in the lockup and this girl and her family is being harassed? And he was wonderful. He's a wonderful man, and my channel supported me, and we went ahead. And we said, shame on all other channels who were showing this film. So in a way, you kind of, sorry to use the word, titillating the masses by showing this film, and you're also saying, oh, how terrible it is. And you know what? You know what? I went to Ajmer the next day. I took a break. I had to take my sister, and we took a bus. And you know, the next day, somebody called me. It was an unknown number, and I was not taking it. And I took it, and you know, it was the same girl, and she said, Didi, thank you.
How much you might have felt for that moment.
That is my reward. That is a big day.
Then Nirbhaya Andolan, that was really
right there. I mean, you know, I was so proud, and my family did not know where I was. And there were the tear gas shells. Some of them were expired, so we were puking. We were not just crying; we were throwing up because the chemicals were expired or whatever that they were using in the tear gas shells. They were very difficult times, but there was no way I would not be there. There was no choice in the matter. It's not even a compulsion. It's like something you have to do.
You felt like this is right. You just can't
the little Shazia. No, all to save the little Shazia and many Shazias.
You could see that in many women who were
crying
suffering
inside, and nobody wanted to hear them. They were crying inside and they were seeking help, but nobody was offering it to them. One has to do it, you see.
So even if you see a girl 80, in that pain, you relate.
Even when I'm going to be 80, I'll be there. I'll be a 13-year-old, you know.
I think that pain and that suffering has taken so much in you that you just feel like nobody should be tested so much. It is not worth human life.
Yes, and it has not been easy because I see journalists, and I don't come from that kind of a privileged background. And my parents were also journalists, and they all spoke brilliant English. And I come from very far off, you know, which in far off, not in terms of distance, but in terms of, you know, networking and, you know, the perception and the optics. And, you know, and let me tell you how biased some of the channels were. When, you know, all these places, and, you know, all these channels like NDTV and all, they make themselves out to be, and I'm saying it out, and I'm saying it, and I'm not ashamed to say it. I'm taking the names. You don't have to take responsibility. I would apply because after passing out of Jamia, after having topped it, you know, but I would not get there.
But why?
I was a Muslim, because they wanted to.
You were the best in the Lord.
They just wanted people whose parents were foreign secretaries or in ministries or
or some academician.
Yeah, that was it. So if you did not have backing, and you know, from family, I did not have any backing because my family felt that if they support me, though my brothers were Doskos, and my sister was married then to a very important person, but who was then out of politics. But then they all felt that if they support me, it would mean that she'll never get married. That, you know, so isliye support nahi karna chahiye. So I had to do everything on my own. And then I realized that, you know, these older brothers of mine, besides Irshad Bhai, who was very sweet, they did not care. They were just so, they might have been Doskos, but their mentality was so,
I think they were not
misogynistic. Yeah. I mean, they have different rules for their wives and their daughters, but they lied to me, and they you know, they just didn't want to take my responsibility in Delhi. So I was packed off and sent to Simla. And you know, people who got much worse marks than me, they all were in LSR and Stevens. And I felt bad about that. And that I didn't go to Stephen College and others did. And but it's okay. I covered up. I went to Mass from Jamia. You know, when I went to take my exam, and you know, I never thought I'll ever open my wounds. But I think it doesn't matter now. I hid them long enough. and it's time to come clean. It's important.
But how politics happened to you, Shazia? What led you to step in?
If I'm telling you, I totally don't fit the bill. But let me tell you, in every party, there are very, very, very decent people who really want to make a difference, who are not lured by money, who really want to transform things. My effort is always as an activist, as a journalist. So for me, these are various vehicles. You travel in one car or you travel in another car. Like they say, and even Swami Vivekananda said that there are different ways to reach God. कोई एक धर्म होता है, कोई दूसरा होता है, तो अलग अलग रास्ते हैं ये. These are various zariyas in your life. They're various means. So I did it as a journalist. The core of me is the same. As an activist, the core of me, Anna Hazare Andolan, the core of me remained the same. So there has to be a way for professionals. And luckily for me, BJP has recognized that, And, my moment came again, another moment of glory was, of course, during Anna Hazare movement, that famous day. But much after that was Triple Talaq Bill.
क्योंकि इन औरतों ने बहुत कुछ बर्दाश्त किया है और बहुत जिल्लत और जुल्म की जिंदगी से उनको आज के दिन निजात मिली है.
चलिए, खुशी के आंसू हैं जो आपकी आंखों से छलक रहे हैं. एक बड़ी बीमारी, एक बड़ी मुश्किल से मुस्लिम औरतों को, मुस्लिम महिलाओं को आज निजात मिली है. शाजिया इल्मी बीजेपी के प्रवक्ता हैं.
So what happened was that I never asked for anything either from AAP or from the BJP. People negotiate, right? Give me a Rajya Sabha, make me a spokesperson. So when Arun Jaitley ji and Amit Shah ji, they invited me and asked me to join the party, I did not ask for anything. And I was just, people thought I was very foolish. They asked me if I want to contest elections.
Maybe you were not greedy to barter it.
My experience in electoral politics was very bad. So people now keep asking me because people don't get it. That everybody is not crazy about a ticket. Some of us actually can say no to it.
So you were not crazy about that power and position. You were crazy about doing something good for the world in any which capacity you can.
But Anku, people are trained to think a certain way. आपको क्या position तो कोई मिल नहीं रही है, आपने ticket नहीं मिल रहा है. They don't know that I was already offered and I said, no, I don't want it. They can't imagine people like me. You see, there are very few of us.
I think she's being stupid to not know the game.
Yeah, they think they're stupid. And in my mind, I'm sorry to say, but I think they are very limited because they don't know. I'm ambitious, but I'm ambitious for my country.
Yes.
I'm ambitious for my
not
India.
For yourself,
I'm ambitious for my poor brothers and sisters. That is my ambition. My ambition is not, I already had a great job and lots of money and a studio, and a person who would do my makeup, and every politician would come. I've seen that. So, it was so insane that I got into BJP, and 2 years later, this whole movement began when these women actually went to Supreme Court. And it is like history coming full circle because as a kid, and somebody was like my guardian, my eldest sister's husband, so not my direct family. His name is Arif Mohammad Khan. So when my father died, he practically brought me up. He and his wife were like my parents to me, were like my parents. And they were parents to me. And because my brothers were terrible and nobody really wanted to take my responsibility. And I was all of 20 or 21. And so the Shabano case had happened. And I was too young, but I remembered what happened. So I just knew all my facts. And I'm totally my dad's daughter. I'm Abba's daughter. That's the name of my autobiography that has yet to be written. So I'm so much Abba's daughter, So I want to tell people there that please, when you say things about Muslims, don't say that because there are all kinds of Muslims, just don't judge people by their religion.
And I think everybody's an individual. In the whole community. It's not just Muslim. Even I've seen Hindu girls suffer the same.
Exactly. So just don't make it about Hindus and Muslims and this whole Muslim bashing that goes on. It's so unfair. Because I know my dad was so wonderful and liberal and gentle. And if he had to be the minister for women and child development, if there was a choice between him and my mom, I would definitely want my dad to be there. Because my mom is far more patriarchal, and fond of sons than daughters and, things like that.
Which is very normal in India.
Exactly. And, so that's how it is. So and so many women are like that. So I don't even blame her for being this way, So that's how our society is. So I think it's such a small way of looking at things. You see a gender, you see religion, you see state. So it just shows us the smallness of a mind.
Did you find resonance with BJP's way of looking at the larger issues, not particularly a religion, but the
No, so
larger?
triple talaq was, they did not tell me what to say. It just came from my heart. So I managed to articulate a very sensible and a narrative which was very respectful of Quran, because what we were practicing here in India, and which all secular, emphasis on the word secular parties endorse, is something that even the Muslim theocratic states do not. That's how biased it is against the Muslim women, because men just give talaq and get married again, that orally, which is talaq, 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 and just go on with their lives. And they do it via WhatsApp and SMS and what have you. And the woman is just rendered homeless. She has nowhere to go. And we're watching it, and there are these parties who care for Muslims. There's Ovaisis and Rahul Gandhis and Kejriwals who get Muslim votes, you see. So they have to please the mullahs and the men, because those are men decide.
Being where you are, what is the next road you see for yourself? Do you see yourself taking on a larger campaign for the women rights? You see Shazia's life being an inspiration for the world. How do you look at it?
No, I don't take myself that seriously. As I said, I'm just a vehicle. And, like they say, God works in mysterious ways. तो ऊपर वाला आपसे काम कराता है. तो मुझे लगता है मेरी यही destiny है. That is my purpose. I don't understand it. How is it possible that a Muslim girl
from a small place,
and the eighth child, so your parents also kind of lose interest in you, and also unplanned, and everyone else is the brother older than me.
You're like
7 years
one
older.
of them, just there.
The brother immediately older than me is 7 years older than me, and everyone else is much older. So you just come after 7 years, after the whole family is like done with, So
you find your life really mysterious.
Yeah, and then I get so I'm working on a film on Sufism. I read a lot. Spirituality appeals to me. I never judge a person. I don't think. I think this is large family. I'm part of a larger family. My own family has treated me so badly. My older brothers did such terrible things to me because I was supporting one brother of mine. Yes. And I've taken nothing from the family ancestral property. I'm the only sibling. Everyone else has. I've not taken a single rupee. I said, that's the least I could do. I don't care. So I'm the only one who's not taken anything from my, which was my part of my inheritance. I said, I will never do that. I think the spirituality, I think it was a spiritual journey that saved me. Vipassana saved me. Reading about if you read about the great Sufis and what really Ruhaniyat is, spirituality as opposed to religiosity. It's not about relating to your identity as a Muslim or as a woman or as just a,
Journalist.
there's so many labels today. I'm woke and I'm liberal and I'm this and I'm that. I don't believe in any of that. There is a soul within you, and I believe that, which is endless. There's so many journeys you might have done. There's so many journeys that are left to be done. So they're always prompting you, your path ahead. And what that path is much bigger than even what you can envisage for yourself. So why would I make myself smaller and plan something where the kainat, the universe could have such big plans for you? I'm on the right side of history, that I'm here to make a difference. It doesn't matter, brothers, sisters, and all, whether you're a Jat or an Ahir or a Sayyid or a Sunni or a Shia or or a Sikh, you have to contribute. You have to be an instrument of peace, of joy. Because if you can't make yourself happy, you can't make anyone else happy. Sister Shivani, she is so wonderful. Brahma Kumaris. Shri Ravi Shankar. I used to do his interviews, and he just loved me. And I used to do the top political interviews for Star Network and all the spiritual ones. So I went to Argentina with him.
I know, such a pleasure.
Yeah.
But Shazia, before I let you go, because I've taken a lot of your time, I want you to leave us with a thought or a song that liberates Shazia. Can you resonate with us? 2 lines, anything that you come through with your journey.
Okay, the song that really inspires me, "Ae Mere Watan Ke Logo," then "Taakat Watan Ki Humse Hai." And so those are the songs.
2 lines that you hum to remember yourself. How do you think Shazia should be remembered?
That I would like to, that really moves and inspires me. And I think it describes many of us. And I would read out a part of it to you. कद्र तेरी तारीख ने जानी ही नहीं, तुझ में शोले भी हैं, बस अश्क फिशानी ही नहीं, तू हकीकत भी है, दिलचस्प कहानी ही नहीं, तेरी हस्ती भी है, एक चीज जवानी ही नहीं, अपनी तारीख का उन्वान बदलना है तुझे, उठ मेरी जान, मेरे साथ ही चलना है तुझे.
So powerful.
I get so emotional when I say it because I am an emotional person, so I'll read the last 2 lines again. So if you want, I can read it again because this really moves me,
Please, you can. I would like to hear you sing also. I think it's such a beautiful voice.
No, and my voice is bad today, so I won't.
Okay, just the last.
So there's this beautiful nazm of Kaifi Azmi called Aurat. And I think it really inspires me, and I think it describes many of us. So it goes like this. कद्र तेरी तारीख ने जानी ही नहीं, तुझमें शोले भी हैं, बस अश्क फिशानी ही नहीं, तू हकीकत भी है, दिलचस्प कहानी ही नहीं, तेरी हस्ती भी है, एक चीज जवानी ही नहीं, अपनी तारीख का उन्वान बदलना है तुझे, उठ मेरी जान, मेरे साथ ही चलना है तुझे. Which basically means that you're just not a story. You're not just about your youth, your reality, your courage. There is so much more to you. You have to change the title of your history. Rewrite your own history. Rewrite the history of your life and change the title of your chapter. Let's go. Let's go for it together.
So touching. I think, Shazia, why you're so sensitive is because you're so genuine. I mean, I've seen strong-headed women, I've seen them achieve so much, but I've not seen them so consciously pure and genuine. We're so lucky we got through you. We bless you that we are able to work onto something much bigger that you have not even thought of. And the world can see through you the power everybody has, not a man or a woman. I think many men also suffer today. So with the power to resonate, many people have the power to come out. And so beautiful thought you said, no, Shazia, ki patriarchy is not about men. It's just not about.
And many of us are trapped in it too, So I think it's all about loving ourselves. So I would like to tell everybody out there, men and women, children, the whole journey starts with forgiving yourself and loving yourself. Cut some slack.
Thank you so much, Shazia. In fact, I think you're Shazia available to everyone. I've never known that you're so available to everyone who wants to take a hand of rescue and come out. But today, that side of you, I just couldn't understand that someone really wants to see and sees herself so much. Anyone's pain resonates with you. So what kind of compassion spills over? You're a beauty with brain and a lot of compassion. And we are privileged to have you with us. We wish you all the best. And we wish we can work together in something really big that we have.
Yes, for sure.